This is a breaking news. Senate to scrap over 400 MDAs in 2023. MDAs are federal government ministries, departments, and agencies. And this is a follow-up to last week's release that federal government had lifted ban on employment on the MDAs so that they can employ teeming Nigerian youths to alleviate hardship and tackle insecurity. And now this week they are talking about scrapping 400 of those MDAs out of about 106 MDAs. Which direction are we going? Let's see. The anger of the committee climaxed after a submission made by the managing director of Sokoto Rima River Basin Development Authority, Engineer Buhari Bature Mohammed, who said out of the 7 billion naira collected from the government as funding for the year 2022, only a 7 million naira revenue was generated. The chairman of the Senate Committee on Finance, Senator Olamilekan Adeola, said on Wednesday that over 400 out of 541 federal government ministries, departments, and agencies are to be scrapped as recommended by Stephen Orosanye-led Presidential Committee on Agencies Rationalization. Olamilekan, who made the declaration on the second day of the ongoing interface between the committee and the heads of MDAs on revenue drive for the implementation of the proposed 19.76 trillion naira 2023 budget, said Orosanye panel recommended the retention of 106 of the MDAs. According to him, revenue generation was the most critical factor being considered by the federal government before retaining 106 MDAs or scrapping 400. The Lagos West senator made the assertion after the Director General of the National Biosafety Management Agency, Dr. Rufus Ebegba, had made a presentation to the committee on low revenue generation by the agency. The DG in his submission said only 2 million naira had been generated by NBMA this year as against the 5 million naira it usually generated on yearly basis, noting that out of the 2.5 billion naira appropriated for the capital budget this year, only 1.3 billion naira was released. The senator, who became furious by the report, told the Biosafety Management Agency boss that it was unacceptable for an agency spending 500 million naira a year outside capital project to be remitting 5 million naira into government coffers. He noted that the time for such low revenue generation by any government agency was over, as those not meeting up would be scrapped as recommended by the Orosanye panel. He said there is no way of stopping the implementation of the Orosanye panel because of the economic situation at hand in the country. The government needs revenue for impactful budget implementation, particularly in the area of project execution, and can no longer afford to be doling money to MDAs without corresponding returns on a yearly basis. We in the Senate are in support of the implementation of the Orosanye panel report to save the economy from self-inflicted bleeding. The anger of the committee climaxed after a submission made by the managing director of the Sokoto Rima River Basin Development Authority, Engineer Buhari Bature Mohammed, who said out of the 7 billion naira collected from the government as funding for the year 2022, only a 7 million naira revenue was generated. The committee consequently agreed that the Orosanye report should be applied on agencies with yearly low revenue generation. Adeola further threatened zero budget allocation in the year 2023 for any agency whose accounting officer refused to honor the ongoing interface on revenue generation. Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, and Group Managing Director of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation Limited, Mele Kyari, failed to appear before the committee as directed on Tuesday by the chairman. Meanwhile, the NNPC Limited, in response to the invitation from the Senate, said that since the agency was now a limited liability company by virtue of provisions of the Petroleum Industry Act, the Senate had no legal backing to summon it for any form of appearance. The NNPC response was sent to the Senate Committee on Finance through the clerk to the National Assembly, Architect Amos Ojo Olatunde. But in his reaction to the letter, Adeola said that NNPC was 100% owned by the federal government and it could be invited at any time to appear before the lawmakers for any explanation. Adeola gave the reaction when the General Manager, Public Affairs, NNPCL, Gabardine Mohammed, appeared before the committee at the interactive section on 2023 to 2025 MTEF/FSP projections. He added that the law passed by the National Assembly by empowering the NNPCL to be an active participant in the oil industry. He said your liaison officer told the clerk of the National Assembly that you are now a limited liability company and that you cannot be appearing before the Senate. We will summon you and invite you at any hour we need your attention. You are a limited liability company by our law. We changed your status because we wanted you to be an active participant in the oil industry. Call your liaison officer and correct the impression. It is owned by the federal government and you remain accountable to the federal government. There are potent issues you need to address. So this is this issue with MDAs in Nigeria. After publishing last week that government had lifted ban on employment on the MDAs to be able to employ teeming Nigerian youths, right, to handle hardship and tackle insecurity. Now, I saw it then, and I was asking about profitability of those MDAs. Now, it is coming out here that after that assertion was made, someone has also reported now that they cannot sustain it because they are not making profit, and that is the problem. You want to employ Nigerian youth into a system that is not making profit. Now, the heads of these MDAs are not complaining that they are not making profit. Now, look at the statement here. They gave them huge budget to run for the year. Meanwhile, the profit returns into government coffers is not commensurate to the amount of money sent as or allocated as budget for the operation of some of those MDAs. So who runs a business like that you cannot make profit? Now the question is, why didn't they make profit, or why are those MDAs not making profit? Right? 400 MDAs, about that estimated, not making profit. How? First of all, is it that the budget for those MDAs were blotted and padded to secure some sort of personal interest, like it has been raining over the years about budget padding? So they overrated the budgets for everybody to get their cuts, most likely. And now, after receiving huge money to run the parastatal, only God knows how much is left to run the parastatal after sharing their portions of the padding. Possibly, that could be a factor. Then, on the other side, some amounts were also not released. That after making the budget, the money, somebody said here that about 2.5 billion naira was budgeted and only 1.3 billion was released. So why? How? Is it that the people that signed the budget had to take their cut and release the remaining? Or the government truly did not have enough money to release and had to release what they have to the MDA? And if that is the case, how can you operate a system that they budgeted 2.5 billion to run and now got only 1.3 billion? How can you run a system that way? So we need to look at the root cause again. This is not far from corruption. This is not far from public fund embezzlement, where either budgets are overinflated to secure their interest, and at the end of the day, what is left to run the parastatal is nothing. Or the parastatal is actually making profit, but again, by the reason of such level of corruption in the country, they are also probably not remitted as generated. So this is unfortunate that we're in a system that keep going back and forth. Honesty is far-fetched. People can just, run a system the way it's supposed to run. And when a parastatal is not making profit, why waiting until a committee is been set to review the performance before you say they are not making profit? Some things need to be probably unraveled more, and the only way to solve this kind of systemic problem is actually to continue this kind of effort, auditing their performance, but then nipping the root cause on the bud, not cutting through the branches and expect the system to improve. It cannot improve that way. Now, after all of these findings, I know we have enough information and enough reason to rationalize and improve those parastatals, but are they always implemented? I will not be surprised that after the meeting of this committee and the findings and recommendations are made and reports presented, it will still be inside closed books. It will not be implemented, because implementing it means that people will not be able to pad 2023 budget and receive their own cut when the budget is finally approved and released. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. I know that one day God will help this country to come back on track. But then we cannot leave our road to God. We really need to get some identify the key people that are reliable, that can run this system for Nigeria. But that is if honesty is restored at all levels, both in parastatals and in government, because we cannot continue like this as a nation. So this is my view, this is my submission. I'm just saying it this way. Just make your comment, and thank you for listening as well. Thank you.